My name is Kurk Kramer. I'm the EDA coordinator for the City of Sleepy Eye, and I want to welcome all of you here today. Glad to see such a great turnout. Back in January, I had three guys ask if they could meet with me. And those three guys were Rick Magus, Doug Belzel, and Steve Holla. They said, "Hey, we got this idea. We think we found a helicopter. You want to partner with us and put it in Veterans Park?" And I said, "Absolutely, let's do it." And as Rick mentioned, in 9 short months, a lot of things happened, and here it is. Um, and a lot of it goes to these three guys and the type of men that they are. I thought about some adjectives to describe them, and that would be committed, dedicated, and relentless. And I think that pretty much describes the attributes of all of our military veterans. I want to just share a few words about each of these three gentlemen that I had the privilege to work with. And by the way, it was probably one of the most rewarding things that I've ever been involved with. First of all, Rick, he goes to Florida, meets with Alan face to face to make sure this isn't some gimmick or make sure that it's for real. And Rick's the kind of guy that I've learned that has very aggressive planning techniques, and he's got this stick-to-itiveness that he, like the pit bull, he decides on something and he's going to go and he's going to do it. And so he's done a lot of the planning, the different things that we've done uh, because of his ability to do that. And I know one meeting that we were having, we actually were talking with Alan Ortiz on the phone, and Doug and I are listening to the conversation, and Rick evidently outranked Alan as a Marine because he made it very clear when Alan said, "I think I'm going to need another week or two." And Rick said, "No, you're not." He said, "We've got this time frame. September 11th is going to be the dedication. It's going to be picked up on August 5th. And I think Doug and I raised our eyebrows, heard a "yes, sir" come over the phone. And it all went just like Rick had planned, along with the escort, which, by the way, was pretty moving to see 40 some, most of them military veterans on bikes, escorting the Huey into town from the state line down in Iowa. And the last thing I wanted to mention about Rick was that he's never timid about sharing the fact that he is a Marine. And somehow that branch of our military is just a little bit above all of the others, according to him, right? And he would make comments about different things during this project. And Steve, being a Marine, he would kind of try to smooth things over a little bit, because Rick was maybe raising a few hackles, and he would, kind of make it all sound good and be okay. But you could see that look in Steve's eye. He completely and totally agreed. So then Doug worked tirelessly throughout this whole project, the time that we were doing these things. He got a lot of the connections that we needed for today's ceremony. He was a great team member in coordinating a lot of different things. He said from the first meeting we had, "Hey, don't worry about the transportation. I'll find it. That'll work. It'll be fine." Because you don't just go and throw a Huey in the back of somebody's pickup. So he was a man of his word, and that was one of the great things. He got it all arranged, and it happened just like that. And he also, on that day of the escort into Sleepy Eye, gave Mayor Pelzel and I a ride from Mankato to Sleepy Eye that we'll never forget. And sometime over a beer, we can give you some of the details. And then Steve's the technician. I've never seen a guy that knows more about more things than you can possibly imagine and have more contacts with everyone that you might need in order to find out what you can do to get something done or who needs this. He was our go-to guy for a lot of the engineering, design, and manufacturing things. And he provided a place for the Huey to be housed while we had to have it in the parade for Summerfest and before the pedestal and everything was ready to go to display it here. Throughout this whole process, I felt as though we had the Lord's guiding hand helping us to get all of those things done in 9 months. I mean, found the bird, had it refurbished. The first pictures of that thing were just pieces. There was no boom on it. There was no rotor. It was like a shell. So to have that done, then get it transported from Florida to Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, raised $98,000, over $98,000 for the project, set it on that pedestal that you see standing back there. And the day that we did that, it was obviously just made perfect for that because it fit right on it, like just like a glove, all the way to today's ceremony. I think we were truly blessed and had the Lord's guiding hand watching over us. And I was reassured of that as I was sitting out at Steve's place when the guys were putting that rotor on. First, they put the transmission in, then they put the rotor on top. And I learned something because the final component to finish off this Huey in its present state was to secure the Jesus nut. And so I'm looking and listening and learning, and the Jesus nut is the most important component on that bird that you see standing there. It's the nut that goes down over the top of the rotor, and failure of that thing working or not being there brings about catastrophic consequences. You crash, and that leaves the only thing left to do. I was told was, and so hence the name, and that was something interesting that I learned. There's a donor board over here. Each and every name of the people, the organizations, the groups that are on that board are extremely appreciated and important. And if anybody still would like to donate, see Doug, Rick, or myself. I do want to mention a couple of specific groups and individuals and businesses because they were instrumental in raising the funds and getting the work done. First, I want to thank Lloyd and Barb Amundsen from the L.A. Amundsen Ohana Foundation, along with First Security Bank, Tom Getz and Jade Prince. They're sitting around here somewhere. They were very instrumental. Over there they are, guys. Jade told me he prepared a 3 hour, or spent 3 hours preparing a speech that he's not going to be able to give. So that's too bad. I want to thank the Sleepy Eye Servicemen's Club Charitable Gambling, John Schuler and Spike Shrepford in charge of that, Methowitz Construction Company, the Sleepy Eye Sportsmen's Club, Chizzy Dick Hooch Hanson families, and then a number of our local businesses and groups that did in-kind donations. Mike Freeton and Glenn Bergner, thank you to them, the trucking company, and the guys that brought that thing all the way from Florida to Minnesota. Steve and Riley Hala with Hala Industries, Caleb Seifgees, who did the engineering, Randy Schilling, who did the machining. If you look at the helicopter, there's a specially machined bracket that's holding it's on the skids, and it's holding that down to the pedestal. To Harry Wertzberger, who did all the concrete work and donated all of his work. To Heiderscheid Digging, we called them up, they'd show up because some of this stuff was real fluid when you needed to get people here to do those things. Schaefer Crane Service, who lifted the bird up, put it on the pedestal, and charged us nothing. The Mark Thomas Company and Kuzi Group, who did a number of the printed materials that we used for this project. To the Sleepy Eye PUC, those guys were awesome. Mike Harden, Jose Sands, Tom Hilsheim, Jolly Huffman, Brent Holla, Jeff Meyer. They also showed up on a phone call when we needed the truck to lift the transmission, to get the prop or the rotors up there, to do a number of other things. Tony and George Hoffman, Nick Mack, and Mark Simon, they were the guys that put the transmission into the bird and attached the rotor to it, and then finalized it with the Jesus nut. Sleepy Eye Electric is going to be doing some work in the future. The bird is going to have some lights that will actually be lit up on it, and also LED lighting that will be shining on it at nighttime. To Schwartz Farms and Christensen Farms, who donated the pork chops for the pork chop feed, and to the city of Sleepy Eye. A couple last things, because people have been asking. The two trees, what's going to happen to them? Well, Rick said right away from day one, the trees got to go. And they're going, let's see what it looks like when it gets up there. Well, he was right, dang Marine. Trees gotta go. Find out last week from our Parks Department, it is not that far into fall that these trees should be that yellow. They actually have a disease and they're gonna die. So I guess we had the good Lord making a decision for us again. We're gonna take them down because they're gonna die anyway. We're planning on putting a wall up on the north side of the Veterans Memorial Wall. So about where you see the asphalt end, there'll be a low wall, kind of like what's on 4 and 14 over there, with some planters on it. We're going to have donor plaques for all of the donors that are there. There'll be plaques like you see down in the front of Veterans Park. They'll be underneath the Huey, and then we'll have that history of the Huey that we got. Put that up there. And so those are the plans. And we have some other ideas if there's money left over with doing some possible murals, maybe some of those military silhouettes, some different things we'll work on. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you, Rick, Doug, and Steve, for working with me. Thank you to all of our veterans. I appreciate everything that you have done, are doing, and will do.